Hello and welcome to Unbounded Growth, a podcast that challenges you to grow and become a better version of yourself. My name is Marc-Alain, and together with my friend Adam, we share thoughts and ideas from the books that we read and how they enhance our personal growth and development. We also host other readers and leaders. We learn from their experiences through our discussions. Our episodes air every Tuesday at 6 a.m. Central Standard Time. Thank you for listening in, and let's grow together. Unbounded Growth. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Unbounded Growth. Man, I am so thrilled and excited to be here for our very third season. And it's been a year. Unbounded Growth is literally turning a year this month. And I remember last year when we were about to launch our first episode on May 19th, then I lost dad. We lost our dad, which of course postponed it all the way to the month of June. But, everything in the kitchen was already cooking and everything was ready to be launched. So I'm thrilled and I'm excited to be here. We are back with Adam for our very first episode of this season, having had a very challenging second season. I remember you got sick, I got sick, and then we missed a few episodes. Even I've been slacking in my reading so bad, but hey, we are back to it. We're about to talk about the mind. We talk about your thoughts and what you can do to change your life from the inside out simply by changing the way you think, because your thoughts have a greater impact in your life. And all throughout this season, that's what mostly we'll be talking about. We're talking about the mind. We have a very great gentleman. We're probably in the same outfit for the third season, the third episode of this season as well, because when we recorded the episode with Dr. David Koppering, we're in the same outfit and we're like, hey, let's get this episode done and then record again our first season. And of course, if you're watching us on YouTube, it's your first time here, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, the like button. Again, we are talking today about the mind and all throughout the season. This will be a short episode, and next week we'll be talking about more stuff. And then we also have another guest this season, my young brother Zeph, who will happen to actually be in the United States for a few days, and we could only shot an hour together. We couldn't even get Adam because of the conflict in schedule and all that. But hey, with that being said, let's Adam, how you doing?
I'm doing well, Mark. It's just been very busy few months. I have a lot of exciting things happening in my life, so I have to also make sure that I am actually developing myself for me to meet the great challenges that's upcoming. So with that, I've just been mostly working so many hours. I've actually lost a couple pounds, I think, because of just my work is more of the mind. Mm-hmm. I use my brain for most part, especially the next 2 months. I am using so much of my brain power. Imagine just being there for 15 hours thinking about that, thinking about this, not doing much. You're just sitting one place. You are using constantly your brain to think. And you learn a lot from sitting down and just observing. And that's what has been mostly happening. And I'm really excited to talk about the mind. I actually read the As a Man Thinketh. And it's a very small book. You can literally go through the book in 30 to 45 minutes. Yep. You can finish the whole thing. But there are a lot of invaluable lessons that go in there. I think the book was supposed to be a devotion. At least like the second part of it, I think his daughter picked up to reflect back on the book. I think the version I bought was the part where his daughter picked up to reflect back on his dad's writing. And with that, she now split it into these, I think it's a month or 40 days devotion, where every morning and every evening you can read and then just reflect back to those words throughout the day. And I think it's a very good book to review and as an introduction to the power of the mind and how like things like positivity, things like basically like environment. So some of these things that you can do, and basically the power of decision, the decision-making process and stuff like these that eventually, as time goes on, they can build you up at an individual level, and they can really help your life and the environment and the people around you. It can make you stand out from everybody else. And also things like habit as well that comes back again in this season as well. So there are those different things that this book is introducing you to. And I believe that even before we record a full episode on the book, I believe that our audience should look for a way to pick up this very small book and start getting it. It was written 1902, like it's very, very old,
Yep.
more than 100 years old, like 120 something year old. So you want to, and also you can think of what the world was going through that time. The women's suffrage movements and all the industrial revolutions, the automobile coming out. And so like all that time, and a person, like it was a time where like it was a boom when it comes to America is growing, becoming really America. But somebody thought of what is essential, what can hold up society. And that is the mind of people and managing the mind. So it's I believe that is a really excellent book to go ahead and read.
Absolutely, and I'm really thrilled personally and excited that we be talking about this book as we discuss intentions, as we discuss the things that we have to do in order to become the people that we want to be. The truth is, a beautiful life or anything that we ever desire in life doesn't happen by accident, and it's far away from us from just feeding you up with a lot of positivity, feeding you up with a lot of things that you know, pretty much motivational speaking. We're not just here to pump you up and to make you feel good. And at the end of the day, there's nothing that changes in your life. We want to hear at Unbounded Growth, as our logo, our slogan actually says it, growing a better you. We are trying to grow the better you, to get to a point where you are happy with the type of person that you become. You are happy with the type of person that you want to be, that you're achieving your goals and that you're reaching out to the stars and everything that you ever dreamed of. But the only way that can be possible is if you put in the work. We can't do it for you. We can give you information, and we will give you information. We expose you to books and ideas. That's one thing that we do initially. We also expose you to people and their ideas and the things that they talk about. But you have to put in the work. Whatever is it that you want to achieve in life, you have to put in the work. The way that Adam has been putting the work, the way that I've been putting in the work to get to where you want to get. And as Adam said in the introduction, the mind is a central command. It controls a lot of things. God has blessed us with this mind, and He has given us the free choice. Sometimes I don't know if we realize the power of having the power to choose. It's like you have the power to choose what you want to make your life of.
Absolutely.
You can't control, and I want to be careful the way I say this. You cannot control things that happen to you. You cannot. I grew up in Eastern Congo. I was there in 1994 when the genocide in Rwanda happened and a flood of refugees in Congo, stuck in the house for more than 2 months. I couldn't control that. I was there in 1996, 1997 when there was an overthrowing of the dictatorial regime. Yeah, it was great that a dictator was leaving power, but what were the consequences? Me as a kid, growing up with all that trauma, growing up with all that fear. Every time, as a matter of fact, I don't know, Adam, if I ever told you this, but it got to a point in my life, every time I heard a shotgun, I would bleed from my nose.
Wow.
And it took a very long time. And of course, I know we have a diverse audience that has different background. And the way the healing happened to me, I remember one time, I think in 2000, I want to get my dates right, but I believe it was in 2004, 2005, when there's this gentleman called Mutebusi who was threatening again to take Goma.
Yeah, 2004.
Yeah, 2004. And then there was a soldier, right, because we live near a military camp. There was a soldier. He took his weapon and just fired on top. He just fired in the air. I was so scared. Even being at that time, I believe being 15 or 16, I was so scared that I started bleeding. And my dad, seeing that, was like Marc-Alain, what's going on? I was like, Dad, I don't know if you ever knew this, but every time like I hear shotgun or anytime I'm scared like that, I bleed from my nose. He was like, okay, that's not normal. And at that time, I mean, you don't have a lot of access to the stuff that people have access to here. I mean, back then, I don't know if we had access to psychologists or things of that nature. I don't know if we had access to
not really.
to mental health care or things of that nature. So we rely mostly on prayers, right? So I literally had a man of God come and lay their hands on me, and that fear left. And and I felt like, I felt confident. And still today, I still don't like guns. I'll be honest. I'm still not a very big fan of guns. But at least I went past that fear. I went past the fear of thinking that if anything ever happens to me, if there's someone shooting out there, the bullet's going to get to me. I went past that fear and living that life comfortably, and just knowing and understanding that things that happen to you, you don't have control over them, but you have control over how you respond to them. You have control over how you react to what someone says. A mean boss, a terrible manager, a car accident that sometimes you did. Nobody, that's why it's called an accident. Nobody gets up in the morning and says, today I'm going to have an accident. Yeah. Nobody. But when they happen to you, how do you respond to those situations? And that's why we be talking about this book, As a Man Thinketh. As a man thinketh. And I know one statement he mentions here is like, as a man thinks, so he is. And actually, I think he took it from the book of Proverbs, the Proverbs of Solomon in Proverbs 23:7, that states, as a man thinketh, so is he. In the, of course, the old King James versions. Yeah. The new King James versions is more watered down and cooler. It says, as you think, so you are. Because you see, your thoughts are the central command of your life. I don't care what background you're coming from, whether you're a believer, you're a non-believer. If you do not learn to control and alter your thoughts, to have the type of life that you desire to have, it won't happen by accident. And one statement he makes in the book here, it says that a negative mind can never produce a positive life.
Yeah.
The same way that a positive mind can never produce a negative mind. So it's always vice versa. It's the things that you feed yourself with. And in this book and in this season, we'll be exploring things of that nature. What are the things that you can do to actually have good fruits out of your mind? What are the things that you can do to produce good results out of your mind? And I know we taken maybe too much of a vacation ever since we took, but it was much needed. It was much needed. I personally needed a break. And an amazing news maybe I'd like to share as well is that since we went on break, I've lost 15 pounds.
Amazing.
Which I never thought that would happen again. But after I had my injury, of course, my Achilles, I'd gained some, but just, and learning that discipline of, this is what I'm going to do and this is how I'm going to do it. And these are the things that I need to do. I think it's crucial. I think it's important as we start diving into this. We have a full episode. Listen, if you just tap on YouTube, As a Man Thinketh, full audiobook, you'll find this book so easily because it's very accessible to everyone. When I heard this, I listened to the tape. I believe it must have been, I want to say 5-6 years ago, around 2015, 2016-ish. John Maxwell, of course, talked about it in one of his books. He said that his dad made them listen to the book and the tape every single time. Like every single month, he would make them listen to the book. And then I was like, I'll listen to it. So I listened to the recording. It's like an hour, 40-minute-ish. If you listen at it at the speed of 1.5, you can go faster than that. Literally an hour, you can be done with it.
55 minutes.
55 minutes. And that's probably the one thing. I work from home and I love it. Maybe the one thing I miss, and a lot of people call me crazy when I say it, is the commute. Because every time I was commuting, I was listening to books. Yeah, I was listening to books, to sermons, to things like that. So being at home, it's hard for me to listen to an audiobook when I'm sitting still. I have to be doing something. I have to be driving, I have to be walking, I have to be jogging. And that's why I don't listen to them once. I listen to them more than once. So anyways, Dr. John Maxwell talks about this. So I listened to the book again and again. I listened to it like 3-4 times. And one day I was like, man, I've heard this book a lot. I want to read it. I ordered the book literally around 2020. I ordered the book. The book comes in and I'm like, okay, they sent me the wrong book.
Yeah.
Literally.
That was my impression too.
I was like, no, there's no way. There's
that was
no
my
way.
impression too.
I opened the book and I know for those of you who are watching on YouTube, of course, you can see this, but if you're listening to us, I'll just paint this idea to you. Think about the smallest notebook you've ever had in your life.
Yeah.
This is literally what this book looks like. The book is literally 25 pages.
Yeah.
25 pages. And I'm looking at the book, I'm like, okay, this is not serious. Maybe I had the wrong copy of the book in my hand. So I go online and start doing this research. So I get a digital copy. I look at the digital copy, 20 pages. Because of course you're a PDF,
Yeah.
it has more lines than 20 pages. I'm like, okay, there's no way. I need to find the original because in my head this book was kind of thick and big, but I just didn't realize how small this book was because of the lessons that are enclosed in this book. And so, that being said, we talk about the mind. Why is your mind important? Why is taking care of your thoughts important? And we've already said something. Your thoughts control your life.
Absolutely. I mean, your thoughts is what determine what you're gonna be doing next. And I think during this season, we're gonna be hosting Dr. David and with his book also on basically what is coming up next for your life. And your thoughts is what determine what you're gonna do next. And this particular season for me is also gonna come in as a season of transformation, because I'm also going through that time in my life where I am readjusting my thoughts, especially the social aspect of me. I guess if I can say the psychology that I use in my interaction with other people. One of the things that happened actually. So I was faced with this dilemma. I help people a lot. I try. I don't I don't claim a trophy for it. But one thing that I want to accomplish at the end of my life is that I want to be the person that people say that this person was reliable. So it's a person that they could rely on at 4 a.m, and he could step up and help and support. And I usually volunteer to step up. But things like that, you volunteer to do it. But the reaction of other people toward that, it really just hurts you. Somebody will do something and it's really like, man, like, I step up to just help. And it hurts you. And when I'm put in front of that, I really just didn't know how I would handle it. At a point, I would get so upset, and to just kind of and to try to react in such a way that I'm trying to make the person feel like they owe me, basically. But I'm the one who step up and to help. It's not like they owe me anything, but I would be feeling like, okay, this person owes me. Like, come on, man! Like the least you could do, right? Like the least you could do at the, But then it's something like actually real that happened is I help out a young man, and after I help them, then basically something happened, and the young man could not. He could not be present anymore, and which to me it's understandable. So I understand, like, oh yeah, that's fine. But then me and his family members, we got into these arguments based on his change of status and stuff, and I found myself basically like just looking down at his family members. I could actually literally feel the complex of superiority in me. And I found, I was like, man, like this is not really something that I want to encourage, because it can cancel everything good that you have done. It's a sense of pride, and it's a sense of like, I'm better than you all. Like, you know, like I'm better than you. And just that feeling, it put me in a place where I got so upset. I started reacting directly. Like all I could do, they say something, I directly react. I press a lot of alarm buttons to basically raise a huge alarm and a huge community of people when I just support my point. And then I sat down. I mean, of course, for a couple of days, I just started feeling really bad about it. I'm like, man, this is tough. This is really not who I want to be, basically. And of course, a few weeks later, they came back and apologized. And of course, I apologized too. I was like, yeah, I shouldn't have basically reacted the way I reacted. I have to work on the fact that on how I react when I'm faced with a point where I know I'm right. I know like this is a no-brainer, if I can say, but how do I respond? How do I react? And Marc-Alain sent me a book. He was like, hey, man, I'm reading this book and it's really cool. It's called Emotional Intelligence. And ever since I've been reading the book is big.
It's huge.
Yeah, it's a huge book.
Oh, I promise.
I think I've read maybe like 25 or 30% of the book so far.
And then it's not even a story. Like,
no, it's not exactly.
It's principle after principle.
Yeah, it's a lecture. It's basically like you sitting in a lecture room and being lectured about this limbic system and all of this neuroscience of stuff. And that book took me a minute. It's really a lot. But there's one concept that is key in that book, and that's what attracts me to the book and what is driving me back to that book. It's a basic thing of how to get angry at the right person
at the right time,
in the right time, and for the right reasons. So that is actually, I found out that this is what I needed. Getting upset, everybody has the right to. But am I getting upset at the right person in the right time and for the right reason? And ever since I've started reading that, I could see like this is a micro transformation already, because I'm that one person that, if I pick up a book, I cannot invest my time in a book unless I know that I'm going to practice the knowledge in there.
Yeah.
So I've been really just like training my mind and basically, and with this actually, it has also gained me a lot of appreciation from people who have seen and have appreciated how I have, like, for example, this month, actually early June, for anybody who listened to us and he's in Houston or she's in Houston, they're inviting me to speak at the youth conference. And this youth conference, I'm going to be speaking on how to navigate the system as a Christian.
Right.
Basically, how do you get your mind in the right place to handle everything that is happening in a world that is absolutely not religious or not Christian? How do you get your mind fixed as a Christian and still be successful in the world? And then in the evening, I'm speaking about leadership and leaders. What does God has to say about it? What does God says on leadership and leader? And basically around the principle of leading like Jesus. Like Jesus led. And this is like, it's all kind of the fruit of setting the right attitude, setting the right mindset, being mindful of things about it, tons of things about intentionality. Like I spent a whole year really being intentional, being now really, like, how do I put it? Not making an excuse or not blaming anybody.
Right.
Or anything else on my stuff. The only person that I would blame for anything will be me. I will be revisiting. Was I very intentional about this in such a way that I live a life of so much intentionality. Actually, now that's the product of the life I live right now.
Yeah.
I'm intentional about my time. I'm intentional who I spend my time with, who I invest my time with, why I'm investing my time in. And I make sure that actually now that I state it before even starting a conversation with somebody. I tell the person the intention of why. And now just training my mind. Of course, it took a long time for me to get where I am, but training my mind in this particular way it's something that I think that during this season we're gonna have some time to elaborate on them more, and then to link it directly with all of these books that we have been reading.
Absolutely, and thank you, Adam, for sharing that. I know it's one of the hardest things to do as people is to think, and I don't say that lightly. To really think, sometimes to sit down with yourself. When you sit with your conscience, you sit with you, right? And ask yourself the tough questions. Have this self-reflection, because even the example that you alluded to, so many times we can do something that's not correct, and then we find people to support us.
Yeah. Yep.
And we think
Absolutely.
that we are doing the right thing simply because we have a lot of voices around us that are telling us, oh, go, keep going.
Yeah.
And that's why I believe to some extent, and for you internet lovers and social media lovers, you'll forgive me on this, but that's why I believe to some extent there is a lot of stupidity sometimes that goes on the internet. Simply because you've posted something stupid and you've got a lot of likes on it, and you think that you're doing something right, doesn't make that you're doing something right. Sometimes you're completely doing something wrong, but simply because you have the support and the people that are putting their voices out there, doesn't mean that you're doing something right. So in this season, again, as always, we run about 15 to 20 episodes at most, and then we move to the next season. One thing particular that we do in this season, we have a lot of guests. That's for sure. We are having a lot of people that we talk about their own experiences and how they're using their mind. The episode that I had an opportunity to record with Zeph Jose is the power and the purpose of vision. How having a vision is important, how having that vision set in front of you is important, how not giving up on yourself it becomes crucial. So we end up with this, and I'll probably share this story, and this is just an introductory episode to our third season, just to give you a little heads up on what we'll be talking about in this season. And of course we are starting with this book, As a Man Thinketh. It's a very small book, as we say. You can get it on Amazon, and I believe there's tons of PDF copies out there that are free to download. And I think the authors, or maybe the family of James Allen, have made sure that this book is accessible to everybody who actually needs it, and which I really applaud them for that. The second book that we are going to read will be by Craig Rochelle. It's a book that talks about the battlefield of mind. How do you go about defeating all the negative thoughts or the negative things that have been fed in your mind, or how do you go about changing the pattern of your thoughts? And of course, we'll be alluding some to, we'll be relating a little bit some to the emotional intelligence. I don't think that's a book we can fully review on the podcast. It's really a very complex book. I'll be honest. I had to reread the book a few times. I feel like that's a book that should actually be recommended to PhD students who are doing neuroscience. But I think it's a great book to read. It's definitely a great book to read if you want to understand how does your mind work, right? In a sense of, especially when it comes to emotions. Why is it that someone gets hungry on the road, pulls up their gun and shoot people? Why is it that when someone is saying something that upsets you, you really feel that rush in your heart, in your mind, in your brain? You feel like you want to react and do something. And having learned that, what can you do? And I think that's the punchline of that book. Sitting down there and being like, okay, now that I know that this person may do this, how do I respond to it? I think one pertinent example that he gives in that book, he says that imagine yourself, you're on the highway and someone cuts you over. You are angry and you want to go after them. You really want to go after them and tell them how they almost caused you an accident, especially if you have your family in the car. And then for a second, before you press on the accelerator to go after them, you think for just 1 second, what if that person just got called because their child had a heart attack in school? Or what if this person just called because their wife is dying in the hospital? What if this person is in such an emergency that they couldn't stop and they didn't realize that the amount of pressure and dopamine was running in their blood and pushing them to cause action? The simple fact that you can think and sit for a second and ponder over that thought may dictate what your next reaction will be. Whether you're going to pursue that person or you're going to say to a point where be like, you know what, it's not worth it, right? And just getting to that point where you can control your emotions and not let people control your emotions. Because you see, the danger is when people control your emotions, they know what button to push. And we see that in a lot of companies. People know, for example, if they say this one statement, even things with racism, things with politics, things with diverse opinions that people may have about a certain subject, people will sit and look at you and be like, man, I know this will get Adam angry. And when they know that, they can start pushing on those buttons to just upset you. And I was reading another book, which I highly do not recommend. But I'm still going to talk about it. It's funny, every time we say do not recommend something, people tend to go read it. But I mean, you can read it. It's not that I'm trying to run a campaign against the book author. When God told Adam and Eve not to eat the fruit, that's the fruit they went for.
That's how it works. Literally.
That's how it works. You tell the kid not to touch the fire, he wants to test it. But you can read the book at Sean Reese. I just do not. It's a very controversial book. I just don't agree a lot with the principles that are taught in that book. The book is called The 48 Laws of Power.
Oh, I just studied that book. I just studied that book.
There's a lot of things in that book that, I mean, we're coming from different, diverse backgrounds. I'm coming from a Christian background. And sometimes you sit down, you're like, okay, there's no way I'm going to use these methodologies to actually gain the quote-unquote power. But the one positive thing I'll say from that book, though, you get to understand how some people think in terms of like manipulators. Especially that book is pretty much your one-on-one guide to manipulation. That's the way I like to call that book. It's your one-on-one guide to manipulation, because it makes you really get into the mind of a manipulator and understand what is it that they think, how is it that they think, which is probably the only positive thing about the book. That's my opinion, right? That's my opinion. I'm not trying to enforce my opinion on anybody here. But hey, if you want to have an opinion on the book, hey, grab the book and read it. I read the summary and then I finished the first law. I was like, nah, it's the type of book you read and then you ask yourself, Lord, am I sinning by reading this book?
I just got a copy of it. One of my friends, actually, she recommended it. I mean, also like she's also very, power.
Yeah.
So I think, I don't know. I just got a copy, so I am trying to check it out. So I'm one of those, the kids who are gonna go and touch the fire.
Go touch the fire,
so, man. I'm gonna go try to check it out. Yeah. So I've been reading also just kind of like in that aspect, the art of war. And I've been reading Lead Like Jesus.
Yeah.
Really amazing book. And I've just been really training my brain these days. Also how to speak better. I've been reading tons of public speaking and just like, there's actually a really cool concept. And as we're speaking about the mind and just thinking, right? That's that's the one I bring up. And you're going to hear me talking about this all across this season. And probably even, actually, if you come across me anywhere, you're probably going to be... is the principle of raising your hand. This is, I get this from, of course, I didn't read this directly from a book, but I'm giving all the credits for me thinking this way to all the books that I have been reading, starting from when I started with 12 Pillars, all the way to when I read The Magic of Thinking Big.
Right.
Why actually Magic of Thinking Big actually get a lot more credit on this is the principle of raising your hand. And I'm thinking I'm going to write a full article, like a whole blog on raising your hand. Why this is so important is that so many of us have so many little victories that we have won if you are still alive until now, and probably most of our audience is in between 20 to 35. So if you're in between 20 to 35 and you feel like you can listen to a podcast and all that, that's mean you're already doing something to improve your life. Which means that before or throughout your life, you have had these small victories that you've been compiling. And it makes like, you see like magicians, they usually have like this little trick, like bag of tricks. That they will pull out a new trick and it will help them kind of achieve something else in ahead. And it's basically like that. And if I'm preaching and I'm talking to a Christian audience, and I believe this can help, and it's just like kind of like something that can reinforce your mind as well as you're getting ahead to raising your hand, is the story of David. David, he basically, the Bible talks, I mean, the book of Samuel, I believe, in the Bible, it talks about David, how David was a young boy, he was a shepherd, probably around 16 or 17-year-old. And this young man fought with a bear. He fought with a lion. And you know what he did that was so particular that I think like maybe a lot of preachers, maybe they even miss that part, is the fact that David, he did not just kill the bear or kill the lion. He killed the lion and cut a piece of its skin and had that piece in his little backpack, in his little, magic bag. And he killed the lion, cut the skin, put it there. And now he was faced with this mountain that he has to go over. And this was a big giant, and everybody knows about the story of giant. Most people do. Who was Goliath. And now it's like, okay, now he has to face a bigger giant. And now how does he get the mental preparation of facing the bigger giant? It comes from, okay, when people are doubting him, people are pulling him down, he's like, you know what? I got a bag here. And when I'm pulling out the skin of a bear, I killed a bear before. I killed a lion before. I am pretty sure that I can take down this next challenge.
Right.
And then he knows who he is. He knows the skills that he has. He knows his ability based on his previous victory. And one thing that he had that was so particular than most people actually even in the Bible is the fact that David raised his hand. Probably he was, look at the characteristic of David. This guy is 16, 17.
Right.
He's a shepherd, which means he's really tiny person. Like, have you seen shepherds? Like, this guy is not big.
Yep.
He's pretty small. He probably doesn't have much abilities, like physical abilities. That's why he was taking care of sheep and not at the war. So he was not the smartest in the room. He was not the strongest in the room. But David had a lot of small victories, and David raised his hand. And this principle, training my mind to be able to stand up each time and raise my hand based on my small ability, it builds this level of confidence in me and the ability that I can take down anything. And when I'm put on the spot, that's when my brain connects the different aspects of things. All the books I've read come in. Everything that I've been building myself up, the small victories I've been having, that's when they get out, they shine, and I come out to victory. I've practiced this. I've experienced this. It's when the next level to my career is based on the principle that I raised my hand when in the room of 1,000 people, this literally a room of 1,000 people, you are the guy who raised their hand, and you come out on the other side with bigger things that really go ahead and improve your life. So it's kind of like these different things that you can bring your mind to be able to do. And I think we're going to have time to talk about the magic of thinking big. And there are these things that you can practice that they are no myth.
Right.
they are reality that you can practice and you can live by in such a way that it won't be something you think about anymore. It's just gonna be on autopilot. That this is who you are. It becomes a part of your identity, and it's so some of those principles that I'm really looking forward for us to open them and elaborate on them as we go through this third season.
Absolutely, and I think Adam gave a very good point. We're already at the 40th minute mark here. You're trying to keep it under half an hour, and to even Adam example, just learning how to raise your hands in various circumstances, and in the episode that we recorded with Zeph, he even talks about it, not giving up on yourself.
Yeah,
just because you see, here's the reality. If the world gives up on you, who cares? You move on, find a new world, find a new world of people. Yeah, find a new world of people that will believe in you. But if you give up on yourself, there's pretty much no hope for you. The one person you don't want to give up is you, right? So we want to make sure that during this season, we're not giving up on ourselves.
Absolutely.
And I'll tell you that coming from a guy who grew up thinking that he wasn't smart, coming from a dude who grew up thinking, again, I'm talking about the mind here, thinking that he wasn't smart, thinking that he wasn't handsome, thinking that I wasn't attractive or good looking, and having all these thoughts in my mind that were always condemning me, that were always reminding me of the things that I was doing wrong, and never, as Adam said, we all have little victories. I mean, if you don't think you have any victories, the fact that you're here, you know how many sperms you had to beat up to be here?
Yeah.
That's already a victory in itself. The fact that you're just born, you went to a swimming competition, even if some of y'all can't swim, but that's fine, But getting that and reminding yourself, learning how to, you cannot completely eliminate negative thoughts from your mind.
Yeah.
But there's one thing you can do. You can amplify the good and the positive so loud that the negative can't say anything anymore.
Yeah.
Do I still doubt myself sometimes? Yeah. There are days I really sit down and I think to myself, wow, I don't know if I can do this. Do I still have fear? Yeah. Some days it happens, and I'll be honest. Some days I'm afraid. I'm afraid to see what lays on the other side of the wall. But do I give up on myself? No. And when fear knocks on my door, I know how to rebuke it. I know how to remind myself of my past victories. I know how to go back in prayers and trust God for the next process. Sometimes, yes, life gets tough. You make mistakes left and right and start doubting yourself. Yeah, it happens to me sometimes. But I don't let that define me. I don't let that define my life. As Martin Luther King said, Martin Luther King Jr., he said that you cannot stop birds from flying over your head. And one thing you can do, though, you can stop them from building a nest. And we are going to learn together how to stop the pattern of negative thoughts, how to stop the pattern of living a type of life that you do not want, but you're enduring. We don't want to endure life. We want to live life. And we are going to do everything in our power by the grace of God and by discipline, by reading, by learning together so that we can overcome and become a better version of ourselves. Ladies and gentlemen, with this, that we'll be finishing this introductory episode next week. I believe next week or the week after. I think next week we'll be having our Zeph's episode that we hear, and the week after we start discussing As a Man Thinketh. So we've got 2 weeks before the end of the month. So for the 2 weeks, the last week of at the end of the month, last Tuesday before the end of the month, we actually got 1 week before the end of the month.
So yeah, we do have 1 week.
I believe we have 1 week.
Yeah, so I believe we can have so this introductory episode, and then the next one
will be with David.
Can be Zeth, or we can actually have the book, and then we can air Zeth, and then have an episode and then air David. We'll see how
we do it, but we definitely post our schedule. And again, on the great news as well, we are now on Facebook for the old folks. I know no young man is on Facebook right now. No Z'er is on Facebook. Yeah, for the old folks, the millennials and all that. We are now on Facebook, and our page still has the same name, Unbounded Growth, and we've been consistent lately. every single day you'll find a quote that will make you think, a question that will make you think, a quote that will motivate you, will give you the strength to move forward, and some inspiration. The best support you can give us, follow us,
Absolutely.
share about the podcast, and we'll be very delighted to have you around. And if you have any suggestions, of course we are always open for suggestions. Your donations always on www.theunboundedgrowth.com. With that being said, we'll be seeing you next Tuesday. You have a wonderful one, and God bless you. Bye bye.